All right, so you're thinking about maybe picking up some Etsy stock.
Uh-huh.
But you're kind of wondering, like, is he really still a leader in the whole e-commerce world?
Right.
Especially with these huge companies like Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we're going to be looking at today.
Yeah, very good question.
We've got this Motley Fool article.
Mm-hmm.
It's from January 23rd, 2025.
Okay.
And it's titled, Is Etsy Stock Still a Leader in E-commerce?
Very appropriate.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
But a quick note,
Yeah.
the stock prices they talk about in the article are actually from a little bit earlier, December 11th, 2024.
Right. So we got to be mindful of those dates
Yeah.
when we're talking about these things. But
Yeah.
really the principles of how Etsy works and their long-term potential, that's what's really going to matter.
Yeah, that's the important stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's start with the basics.
All right.
What does Etsy look like in the market right now?
Okay. So as of that date, December 11th, 2024, Etsy's market cap was $6 billion with a stock price of $53.09.
$6 billion.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
a chunk of change.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot.
Yeah.
I'm no expert, but what does that tell us about how big and important they are in the e-commerce world?
Well, think of market cap as like a rough measure of the company's total value.
Sure.
But while $6 billion might sound big, you got to keep it in perspective.
Okay.
When you think about those giants like Amazon,
Right.
with market caps in the trillions.
Trillions, yeah.
Etsy's playing a different game, right?
Yeah.
Their strength is that they're specialized, not just massive.
I guess so they're not trying to be like the everything store.
Right, exactly.
Like Amazon.
Yeah, and that's key to their strategy. They've found this special spot focusing on, handmade, vintage, and craft supplies.
Yeah.
It's like the online artisan market.
That makes sense.
Yeah, you go there to find those unique things.
Right, not just the same mass-produced stuff.
Exactly.
Okay, so that sounds like it could be smart.
Yeah.
Especially because more and more people want those one-of-a-kind things.
Mm.
But, I have seen some headlines
Uh-huh.
about Etsy's stock dropping a bit lately.
Right.
Actually, this article even mentions it.
Yeah.
It fell 1.61% on January 23rd.
Yeah. But, these short-term changes happen all the time.
Right.
That's the stock market.
Yeah.
When days drop, even if it seems big, doesn't really tell us that much about their future.
Yeah, I guess as an investor, you really have to look past those daily ups and downs.
Exactly. Focus on the big picture.
Right, and their potential to grow.
Yeah, their underlying strengths.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
But speaking of stock drops,
Yeah.
another headline I saw from Motley Fool was pretty wild.
Yeah.
It said Etsy is down 81% since November 2021.
Wow.
And then it asked, is it a once-in-a-decade buying opportunity right now?
Mm.
That's a pretty huge drop.
Yeah, that definitely grabs your attention.
Does that worry you at all?
Well, it shows how much Etsy's stock has changed recently. But the thing is, what happened in the past
Right.
doesn't guarantee what will happen in the future.
Yeah, that's true.
What's really important is figuring out what caused that decline
Yeah.
and if those reasons are still around today.
Okay, so let's look at some of those reasons.
Yeah.
One article is called Etsy Earnings Slip, Revenue Rises.
Okay.
It's a little confusing, isn't it?
Yeah, how can revenue be up
Right.
while earnings are down?
Like, wouldn't that be a bad sign?
It might seem that way, but it's
Yeah.
all about understanding the financial stuff.
Okay.
Revenue is simply all the money they make from sales,
Right.
but earnings, that's the profit.
Okay.
What's left after all the expenses.
So all the costs like marketing
Exactly.
and, developing their platform,
Mm-hmm.
maybe even like the little thank you notes they send in packages.
Yeah, you got it.
Okay, so they're selling more, which is good,
Right.
but their costs are rising even faster.
Exactly.
So what's making those costs go up?
Well,
Is their business model becoming less efficient?
there's a few things that could be happening.
Okay.
And they're not all bad.
Okay.
Like if they're spending more on marketing,
Yeah,
that could mean they're trying to get new buyers and sellers.
right, which could lead to even more revenue later on.
Exactly. Or maybe they're putting a lot of money into making their platform better.
Yeah.
Adding features or improving security.
Yeah, that's all good for everyone in the long run.
Right.
So maybe these higher costs are actually an investment in the future.
That's one way to look at it.
Yeah.
But it's not just Etsy's own choices.
Right.
We also have to think about what's happening in the world.
Yeah, like inflation
Exactly.
and supply chain problems.
Mm.
Those can affect any online business, right?
Yeah, not just Etsy.
So it's about understanding the whole context.
You got it.
Okay, so maybe this isn't a red flag for Etsy specifically,
Right.
but just a trend we're seeing across e-commerce.
That's a good way to put it. It's something to keep an eye on, but doesn't automatically mean Etsy's in trouble.
Okay. That makes sense. Now, I've noticed all these articles are from The Motley Fool. For someone like me who's not super experienced with investing, what's their reputation like?
So The Motley Fool's been around since 1993.
Okay.
And they've got a pretty good reputation
Well,
as a financial company,
Yeah.
They want to help make investing easier for regular people.
Okay.
And they have analysts who give advice and look at the market.
So they're not just like some random blog making wild guesses.
No, not at all.
Okay.
They're known for thinking about the long term.
All right.
And they tend to like growth stocks like Etsy.
Okay, but I imagine like anyone, they've got their own opinions.
Of course.
And biases.
Sure.
So how should I think about what they're saying about Etsy?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Is it someone who might invest?
Think of them as one voice among many.
Okay.
They offer good insights, but you should always do your own research.
Yeah.
Look at other analyses and form your own conclusions.
Okay, so take what they say with a grain of salt.
Right.
And consider other viewpoints before making any big decisions.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Investing is like putting together a puzzle.
Right.
Each piece of information,
Yeah.
whether it's from the Motley Fool or somewhere else,
Yeah.
helps you see the whole picture.
Okay, so we've got Etsy,
Uh-huh.
$6 billion market cap, carving out their own space in e-commerce
Right.
by focusing on handmade and unique items.
Mm-hmm.
Their revenue's going up,
Yeah,
but their costs are too.
that's right.
And their stock's been kind of unpredictable.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the Motley Fool,
Uh-huh.
a reputable source,
Yeah,
but not the only one to listen to.
exactly.
So what's the next piece of this puzzle?
Well, to really understand where Etsy stands, we need to go deeper into what makes them stand out.
Yeah.
What is it about how they do business that helps them thrive in a world with Amazon?
Right.
That's where things get interesting.
So you were saying Etsy's got this unique business model.
Yeah.
What makes them different, especially going up against someone like Amazon?
Right.
Like, what's stopping Amazon from just doing the same thing
Mm-hmm.
and,
Yeah.
kind of crushing them?
That's the question a lot of people are thinking about.
Yeah.
It's true. Amazon is known for jumping into new markets and
Right.
changing everything.
Yeah.
But Etsy's got some tricks up their sleeve.
Okay, I'm listening.
Right.
What are these tricks?
Well, first, they've built up this really strong brand
Yeah.
all about handmade vintage
Mm-hmm.
and unique crafts.
Okay.
Things you can't just find anywhere.
Right.
It's almost the opposite of Amazon, right?
Yeah.
Amazon's all about convenience and low prices,
Yeah.
but Etsy is all about personality, authenticity,
Right.
and that handmade feel.
Okay. Yeah, I see
Yeah.
what you mean.
Yeah.
Like when I shop on Etsy, it feels like I'm supporting small businesses and finding something special,
Exactly.
not just adding another thing to my cart.
Right.
But honestly, there's tons of other sites popping up that are also focused on handmade.
That's true.
So how does Etsy stay ahead of everyone else?
Well, they've got a few advantages.
Okay.
For one thing, they've been doing this for a while now.
Right.
You've built up a huge community
Yeah.
of both buyers and sellers.
Mm-hmm.
It's that network effect.
Yeah.
The more people they have,
Right.
the more attractive the platform becomes.
Okay. Yeah, like a snowball effect.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's hard for new sites to compete with that.
Right. They've got this whole ecosystem going.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not just about size.
Okay.
They've also worked hard to make their platform easy to use.
Yeah.
Especially for people selling handmade and vintage stuff.
Right.
They've got tools for managing inventory,
Yeah.
marketing your products,
Mm-hmm.
talking to customers.
So it's like a one-stop shop for these artisans
Exactly.
to run their business online.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for buyers like me,
Mm-hmm.
they've got those search tools
Mm-hmm.
that help you find exactly what you want.
Right.
Whether it's,
Sure.
a funny handmade birthday card
Uh-huh.
or like a vintage dress from the 70s.
You got it.
Yeah. It's not just a platform. It's a whole experience.
Exactly.
They get
Yeah.
their target audience,
Mhm.
people who love handmade vintage
Yep.
and unique things.
And they make it easy to browse
Yeah.
and find new things.
Okay, but let's talk about the big one.
Okay.
Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
They have their own handmade section, right?
They do.
So isn't that a direct threat?
It's definitely something to watch.
Yeah.
Amazon Handmade exists,
Right.
but it hasn't really taken off
Oh,
like their main site.
right on.
Well, some analysts think it's because Amazon is so known for those mass-produced things and convenience
Mm-hmm.
that it just doesn't fit with what people want from handmade
Right.
or vintage.
So it's almost like their own brand is working against them.
Yeah, it's possible.
Interesting.
Etsy's so connected to the idea of handmade
Yeah.
that it's hard for a giant like Amazon to copy that.
Yeah. Okay. So Competition from Amazon is one challenge. What else does Etsy need to worry about?
Well, one thing, and it's a good problem to have, is keeping that handmade quality and authenticity as they grow.
Yeah. The more sellers they have,
exactly,
the harder it is to make sure everything is up to their standards.
You got it.
So they need to expand, but also stay true to their values.
Exactly. It's a tough balancing act.
Yeah, that makes me think about those fake products you sometimes hear about online.
Right.
Could that hurt Etsy's reputation?
Yeah, if people start to doubt if the products are real, that's a valid concern.
Right.
And it's something Etsy takes very seriously. They have rules and ways to fight those fake goods, but it's a constant battle, especially as they grow. They need to protect both their sellers and their buyers.
So it's like a constant game of keeping those bad guys off the platform.
Yeah, you could say that, but it's not just about that.
Right.
They also need to make sure buyers and sellers have a good experience.
Right.
That means things like safe transactions, reliable shipping, and good customer service.
I have noticed that they've been focusing on those things more. Like they have those seller reviews now.
Yeah.
So you can get a sense of how reliable they are and the quality of their products.
Exactly.
It feels like they're really trying to build trust and be transparent with their community.
Yeah, that's a big part of what makes Etsy appealing.
Right.
Buyers feel like they're connecting with the creators directly.
Yeah.
Not just some big company.
But it's harder to keep that feeling as the platform gets bigger.
It is.
So staying true to their roots, even as they grow, is really important for their success.
Exactly. They can't forget what makes them special, what sets them apart from Amazon.
Okay, so we've talked about competition, keeping quality under control, and building trust.
Right.
Anything else we should be thinking about?
Well, we've talked about the challenges within Etsy.
Yeah.
But don't forget about things happening outside that could affect any online business.
Yeah.
Things like cybersecurity threats, changing customer tastes, even economic downturns.
Yeah, that could impact the whole industry.
Exactly.
So Etsy's success isn't just about running their own business, but also navigating those bigger trends and adapting to change.
Exactly. The online world is always changing. Those who can see what's coming and adapt, the ones who will succeed.
Okay, so we've looked at Etsy's business model, their strengths and their challenges.
Yep.
I feel like we're getting a better understanding of where they stand.
Good.
But how does all this translate into an investment decision?
Yeah.
What should our listener be thinking about as they weigh the risks and rewards of buying Etsy stock?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And that's where it gets even more interesting.
Okay, so we've talked about all the good stuff about Etsy, the challenges they face, even those bigger things that could affect them. But what our listener really wants to know is Etsy stock a smart investment?
Yeah, that's the tough question.
It is.
There's no easy answer.
Yeah.
No crystal ball to tell us for sure.
Right.
But we can look at the facts, weigh the possibilities, and maybe even question some of our assumptions.
I like that approach.
Yeah.
So far, it sounds like Etsy's doing pretty well. They've got this strong brand, loyal customers and sellers.
Yeah.
And they're tapping into that desire for unique, handmade, and vintage stuff.
You guys, those are the key points.
Yeah. But even with all that, there are still risks.
Of course.
We talked about competition, especially from Amazon.
Right.
And who knows, maybe people's tastes will change.
Yeah.
Or Etsy might have trouble keeping their quality high as they grow.
Those are all valid concerns.
Yeah. It's a balancing act. What if we think about it differently, though?
Okay.
We've been talking about Etsy as this niche player.
Yeah.
But what if their niche becomes like the mainstream?
Right.
What if the future of e-commerce isn't these giant companies, but smaller specialized sites like Etsy?
That's an interesting thought. It is. And it might not be so crazy.
Right.
Think about what we're seeing.
No.
More support for small businesses.
Yeah.
People wanting more personalized experiences. Focusing on sustainability and ethical sourcing.
Right. All those things play to Etsy's strengths.
Exactly.
So instead of getting crushed by the giants,
yeah,
Etsy could actually benefit from this change.
It's possible.
To more conscious shopping.
It goes back to what we said earlier.
Okay.
Etsy's not just a website.
Right.
It's a whole experience.
Yeah.
Connecting buyers and sellers.
Yeah.
Telling the stories behind the products.
Right.
Building a community.
That's tough for even a huge company like Amazon to copy.
It could be.
It makes me think about that Motley Fool headline. about Etsy being a once-in-a-decade buying opportunity.
Right.
Maybe they're onto something.
It's definitely possible.
Yeah.
But like with any investment,
right.
there are no guarantees.
Yeah.
Even if Etsy's niche becomes the next big thing,
right.
they still have to do things right.
Okay.
Keep innovating, stay ahead of the competition, and find that balance between growth and staying true to themselves. Right. It's a lot to manage.
So what would you say to our listener who's still not sure about investing in Etsy?
Okay.
What are the key takeaways?
First, don't just go by headlines or your gut feeling.
Okay.
Really take the time to understand Etsy.
Yeah.
Their business, how they compete, and what's happening in e-commerce as a whole.
So read those Motley Fool articles.
Yeah.
But also look at other opinions and analyses.
Exactly. Do your own research.
Yeah.
Go beyond the hype and come to your own conclusions.
Got it. What else?
Think about your own goals.
And how much risk you're comfortable with.
Right.
Etsy's stock has been up and down.
Yeah.
So it might not be for everyone.
Okay.
If you're looking for slow and steady,
yeah,
this might not be the right choice.
But if you can handle the ups and downs and you believe in Etsy's future, then it could be a good opportunity.
It could be.
Okay. And lastly,
remember, investing is a journey.
Okay.
It's about learning, adapting, and making smart decisions.
With the information you have.
Exactly.
Well, I think we've given our listener a lot to think about.
Yeah, I hope so.
Etsy's story shows that even with huge companies out there, there's still space for new ideas, specialization, and that personal touch.
Absolutely.
And who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe the future of e-commerce is a bit more handmade, a bit more personal, a bit more like Etsy.
I like that.
Me too.
Thanks for joining me on this deep dive.
My pleasure.
And to our listener.
Yeah.
Keep learning, keep exploring, and happy investing.